We're live. Welcome to another edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight. You follow me, I'll follow you back. And we are so much closer to football season, real football. Actually, the Chicago Bears are playing the Baltimore Ravens. I really got sick of looking at RG3, and I was more than happy to talk Bucs football as opposed to watching that. So here we are. I'm joined by my co-host, the usual suspect, the GM, Michael Pless. How you doing tonight, Michael?
Gene, it's awesome to be back. So yeah, it's back. We actually had a game, so it's awesome, and we're getting closer to week. And I'm excited to talk with the guys we have on tonight. Special guests. They were at practice. They are credentialed now, so we're moving on up.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm going to start with Brent Allen. Brent, how are you doing tonight, man? Thank you so much for being on, and congratulations, guys. I mean, you're doing something that a lot of us would like to do, but we can't do.
Well, thank you so much, Gene, man. And I know I speak for everyone when I say we're super excited to be here. Love always getting to be here on the show and just come on and talk Buccaneers football. We love it so much. Ren has it written on the back of his shirt, which I'm sure he'll talk about here in just a second. But I do want to clarify something. Ren and I, yes, we were able to get credentialed as media, but only for the last couple of days. So for us, as of right now, that's over. You never know when they might call us and say, "Hey, here's a few more days." You never know what year they might say, "Hey, we'll just credential you for the whole thing." We're still working on that, just continuing to develop those relationships and stuff. But Ren and I are so appreciative of the Bucs organization and the people that we've been working with over there for I don't want to say taking a risk. That's not really it, but I mean, hooking us up, showing
a little faith.
Yeah, exactly. You were talking earlier, Gene, I think maybe right before we went online, that you spend more time listening to the fringe media, to the fan generated media. And, what we do is on par, if not better than what a lot of the other full timers do. And we approach it with a passion that most of the other ones don't. And that's nothing against those guys. It just means we do it differently. And, I know that I personally prefer fan generated media because, these guys get me, I get them. I know where they're coming from. So, for that and all those reasons, man, I'm super excited to be here to get to kind of share with you what we've been talking about and what we've learned here over the last couple of days as well.
Yeah. And guys, you guys are doing a great job. If anybody, if you're not following these guys on social media, you really need to, especially Twitter. I love your perspective on things. And before we go any further, I want to save the best for last. Rendax, how are you doing tonight, my friend? I don't want you to think we left you out. We didn't. We're just passionate about football. How are you doing?
I am good. Yes, that would have been 2 times in a row I was on your show that you forgot to introduce me. You introduced Pless twice. You went Pless, Brent, back to Pless, but no,
I might have been drunk.
Everything's good. Just sort of echo what Brent was saying. It's a dream come true for guys like us, to be able to get as much unlimited access without actually working for the team and being in the building or being a coach or somebody there who's every single day. The media is the closest that we're going to get, full credential media access is the closest going to get. And it was, I feel I can't overstate enough how much fun it was, how great it was to be there. I mean, Brent and I were there like a half hour before anybody else showed up, like both days, we were like kids on Christmas, it's like, it's 5:30 in the morning and we're waking up the parents like, okay, we're here. All right. Okay. Unlock the door. All right. Where's my badge? Okay. Can I go here? Can I go on the field now? Can I take a picture? Okay. But, I think we handled it well, and it was fun, and as you guys can imagine, just to hang out in the media room, because there is Greg Allman, who's sitting right next to the guy from the AP, who's across from Pat Donovan from WDAE, who's next to Mark Cook, who's next to Scott Reynolds, who's next to Trevor Sikkema, and then over my other shoulder is Ira, who's next to Lita Kemper, who's next to Thank you, Steve Isbitz, and then the people from Spectrum Sports are there. It was just to be in that room and sort of eavesdrop on the conversations and chime in every once in a while with everything. But that first day I think was a lot of awe and sort of deer in headlights, but the second day, not that we didn't cover it, but the second day we knew what to expect, and the second day we really went after it, and I hope everyone enjoyed the coverage that we've been putting out.
Yeah. Again, this is really awesome to see that. Plus, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I just have a question. I mean, how was the grass? Did it feel great? I mean, was it nice and was it bouncy? Feel good?
Okay, I want to take that because especially as a big guy. All right, this mattered to me. I was talking to Derek from thank you. I was going to say Buck What You Heard. I was like, no, that's the show I'm on right now. But I was talking to Derek, like that grass. No, Bryn, you were there. It was all three of us. We were sitting there talking together. That grass it's kind of springy. Like it's got a good bounce to it. Like yeah. You see, cash register people, like checkout people, they got to stand on that big, thick, foamy pad so they press on their joints. Like this field is kind of like that. It's real nice. And Ren, you were getting down on one knee, and you're like, the grass isn't wet. My knee's not getting stained or whatever. So, man, the grass was, I might have picked up a little bit and brought it home in my pocket. Don't tell anyone that. But got a little bit of turf. But it's it was fun, man. And that grass, yeah. And I tell you, because I also came off of a couple days at Disney World where it's all concrete and you're just dying by the end of the day. This was nice to be able to kind of get a little bounce.
That's good. The Buccaneers have been known for years, even back to Old Tampa Stadium, Houlihan Stadium, wherever you want to call it, about having one of the best fields in the league. And I don't want to ape what Brent just said, so I'm going to sort of change kind of the way I looked at it. The first time where you walked out of the media room and you got to go through the magnetic gate, that sort of separates the media from the field, so people can't just wander in there. And I went out there early, and you look at all the open space, and there's no players out there, and there's maybe one guy 2 fields over, setting up the pylons on the field, and you look, over to your right, and the huge Buck flag is just waving. And for me, I'm not a spiritual guy, but it was closest to heaven I've ever been. And it was, I know it sounds corny, man, but this is something that I've been thinking about off and on for years and years and for decades. And it happened 3 days ago.
Yeah. And guys, I wanted to kind of go back a little bit. Do you guys feel, and this has been my position here for the past couple of years, I kind of see a decline in radio stations and what we do as fans, as whatever you want to call it, fringe media, as we're known as. There's an increase in that, and people are finding their niche. They're finding people that they like to listen to, and that's who they listen to. And I think that the Buccaneers may be on the right track in, credentialing certain people that they feel like can come in there and represent, the Buccaneers in a good way. And I think you guys have really done a great job with that.
Yeah, thanks. We got to talk to Nelson, who's the head of their PR department there. And, one of the things he told us, and I mean, yeah, he told us, he's like, we're aware of you guys out there. We know that exists. We just don't know what to do with you. And we all know, as a culture, as a society, as a whole, greater than sports, media is changing. Print media is nearly dead. People have to make the shift to online stuff. But even then, traditional television isn't really doing a thing anymore. Traditional radio, traditional news stations, all of that shifting. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I get 98% of my news off of Facebook and Twitter. I don't watch the news anymore. You know what I mean? And so for those of us who are kind of out here figuring out how to do this, and truth be told, I think, I think I already said that, but you say, Gene, the Bucs, we're getting a lot of it. Bucs fringe media is increasing, not just in quantity, but in quality. The number of shows out there that are good that I would like to listen to. Like I'm at that spot now where I can't listen to everybody because there's so much and there's so many good ones. Like I just have to pick and choose. I'll let you know you guys are on the list. But it's not that I have any. It's not that I think less of those guys. It's just there's only so much time to go around, and that's a good place for the Buccaneers fan-generated media ecosystem to be.
Right. I think that I think it can work hand in hand. Like what you guys have been able to do is great. Just getting your perspective. I don't follow the Tampa Bay Times. I don't, I sort of listen to 620 every now and again. If somebody good is on that I really want to see, or Pat Donovan, he's a friend of the show as well. Getting to listen to him or, something to that effect. But for the most part, you guys, Locked on Bucs, What the Buck, Real Bucs Talk, when they put out their, information on plays or, specific information they put out there, that's what I go to. That's what I want to see. I want to know specifically what's going on. And again, like you, not to take anything away from anybody, but it's just, it's gotten to the point, especially this offseason, really hit home. You see a lot of narratives, and instead of just reporting the news, this is what happened. This is how it went. We're seeing slanted stories, and you're not getting all the facts. And I know there was a big blow up over the weekend, just with fans being misquoted, and you misquote the wrong fan, and it's going to blow up. And that's kind of what we're seeing. So what you guys are doing, I love what you're doing, and that's why I like having you on. Plus, wealth of knowledge, just as knowledgeable as going to ESPN or some of the other stations, and they're right here. They know what's going on. They have a better idea what's going on. So what you're doing is appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So I kind of want to dive in. I kind of want to dive into. I want to dive into football now, and a couple of questions I have for you. As you're watching this camp, and let me start. I guess I'll start with myself here. We always, in the beginning of the season, we always look at things that we are focused on. Like last year, it was red zone offense. That was our big thing. Year before last, it was red zone offense. But this season, I think more for me, it's coaching. How is this head coach managing the overall team? He's passed on some of his responsibilities. You brought in another defensive line coach in Brinson Buckner, and just kind of mixing things up. How is Dirk Cutter? Is Dirk Cutter looking like a head coach? Is he doing things that what can we expect? Because I feel like what happens this year will hinge a lot on how the coaching is on this team. We can't say talent too much. I think it leans a little bit more towards play calling and overall management of the team. And I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, it's interesting, and I think that's a great question. We'll talk about coaching first. Everyone's talked about Brinson Buckner. He is as advertised as far as watchability, as you're gravitating towards him, as in you want to watch him coach. He's always coaching. He's always paying attention to detail, and he's very magnetic. I think Brent used the word the other day. And you find yourself just watching him, and then you realize, okay, wait, like I'm just watching these guys stand in a huddle and talk to each other. There's some stuff over here I need to go take some video of. But so it just seems that the coaches are maybe more focused. But last year there was Hard Knocks. So let me put it this way about Dirk Cutter. He is way more comfortable and confident than he was his first year as a head coach. Seeing his mannerisms, the way he holds his press conferences. I think last year was hard for him because not only was it his second year and he thought he'd take a step, but now you've got Hard Knocks and all these cameras in your faces. And as a head coach that other coaches are going to watch that show. So he was not only, coaching his team, he was also, it was like a little glimpse for all coaches around the NFL into the way he coaches. And when you think that way, you're not really yourself. Not that he was putting on an act, but he might not say some things that he normally says, or he might say things that he normally doesn't. I'm not saying that he was super conscious about it and changed the way he coached, but he didn't want Hard Knocks there. He made that extremely clear. And I think it was just maybe a little bit out of his comfort zone. But this year, man, they talked a little bit how people talk about how the camp's a little more physical. I would say focused. The players, the coaches, the way the practice is structured and flows and moves, it just seems to be a little crisper, and people are really tuned in to what's going on in front of them and really trying to pay attention to their jobs and what they're trying to learn, instead of messing with the crowd or always sort of looking out the side of their eye where the Hard Knocks camera is. So it just as a fan, it just feels better, and it feels like these guys are actually gonna be ready this year.
I'll tell you one thing I have not seen in the 2 days that we were there, the entire day, Ren, and in any videos or anything. The one thing I've not seen is anybody humping a tree. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, what Ren says is true. Like, focus. The word on the back of the coaching shirts this year is discipline. Discipline driven is kind of the slogan or the motto. And I actually, later kind of wanted to ask Cutter about it, but everything was already closed up, so I didn't have that opportunity. But, to say that it is a more disciplined thing, Ren, we had this conversation. I don't know that that's necessarily the right word. Focused is a really good word, but in terms of the coaching thing, Ren's right. Brinson Buckner is magnetic as advertised. I'll tell you who's the most fun guy to watch to me was Skylar Fulton, the new wide receivers coach. He is a ball of energy, and he was doing things like every time they'd be in position drills and wide receiver would run out, and then the next guy, the wide receiver, Skylar Fulton is running with his guys, and then he circles back around to catch up with the other guy, and he runs down the path with him, and he's hollering and coaching at him the whole way. And there are times when he'll step in front of him and give him a little check, just so they can be aware of that. So he was a lot of fun to watch. But the other thing that you might not think of, but is absolutely happening, is it seems like just about every single position group has a player coach who is doing a lot of the coaching. On the defensive line, you see a lot of that with Gerald McCoy and JPP. Those guys are taking their guys, showing them what to do, giving them extra coaching. You just watch them do that. And you'll watch Buckner go over and talk to McCoy, and then McCoy turns around and talks to, the other guys. Or Evan Smith over in the offensive line. Now, say what you will about Evan Smith and his play and, maybe how old he is or whatever. The guy is coaching up the rest of the team and the rest of the guys around him. You look over. I remember even seeing D-Jax talking to some of the other wide receivers. You've got Cam Brate, who I guess is the elder statesman now in the tight end room. I was watching him kind of do that with some of the tight ends. So the players are also coaching up each other as well, and there just seems to be this different attitude, this different aura, I guess, exuding around camp this year than there was last year.
Yeah. Plus, you want to jump in here? You have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I mean, as far as what I've seen is, guys are talking about family more. It seems like everyone is more together. You didn't hear the word family, a lot last year. It seemed like there's more divide, separation as far as the team goes. But, as far as my theory, I think this team pretty much got humbled last year. I mean, as far as the offensive line, defensive line, they got their asses kicked up front pretty much weekly, consistently. And I think this coaching staff got humbled too, because I think, coming off a 9-7 year, they thought, some of the things that they did the previous year could work, and it just didn't happen. And I think coaching wise, player wise, I think they're all just ready to stop the excuses and go out and get results. And I think it's time. I mean, like Ren said, I mean, this team has to be focused. I mean, there's no choice but to win this year. They have the pieces in place. It's time to go and get some W's. That's what this team needs to do.
Yeah. And the one thing that going back to the 2016 season, transitioning to 2017, you saw a lot of communication that was in the beginning of the season, you didn't really see it, but going towards the back end of the 2016 season, you saw a lot more communication. It looked like, just watching the film, guys were trusting each other. I know I can play my position. I don't have to worry about what this guy's doing. I can focus on what I need to do. And for some reason, it didn't seem like you saw that last year. You saw people worried about, I need to come over here. And people were getting out of position. And there were a lot of big plays that were made. That's not always the reason, but we just didn't see the communication and the trust that you saw the year before. And, when you've removed a few players, you've brought in some guys that are proven winners and, coming from where they came from to the Bucs. So hopefully that will put them back in that mindset that they had in 2016 to where they can trust in each other and get out there and make plays. That's going to be huge on both sides of the ball.
I asked Ali Marpet. I got to interview him while I was there. And I've had this theory about when they moved him over to the left side, that a lot of that was based on his relationship with Donovan. We know he and Donovan are really good friends. They've been roommates through training camp for the last bunch of years. And, they had that great radio. They just have a great chemistry together. And I actually asked Ali about that, like how moving him over to the left, if that's going to help not just Ali and improve that spot, but also help Donovan in the right guard spot. And Ali's words were absolutely. It's absolutely going to help because of the relationship they have. And what he said was, what you want to do is you want to get to a spot where you don't even have to talk to each other. You just know each other, And I feel like if we can extrapolate that really goes across multiple positions. Quan and Levante and even Kendall Beckwith or Darius Taylor, whoever's going to be starting that other side, like that group needs to know what each other is doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. The wide receivers all need to, and tight ends, those guys, everybody needs to be working in concert, not just a bunch of one-offs going out there kind of doing their own thing or running.
And let me jump in here real quick. Everybody's been down on Deshaun Jackson, and they're because of the season that he had last year. If you go back to Jameis Winston, and I think I've said this on the show a few times, you go back to Jameis Winston and Mike Evans when they first started, they did not have that connection. But they built that connection over the offseason going into the next year, and they were very successful. You saw the same thing with Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson was not in California training. He was here, and he was in Tampa. And so that tells me how dedicated he is to getting better and, making his team better. So those types of things right there kind of stand out to me. Not selfish, but, going out of your way. Hey, let's get better. Let's see if we can improve on what we had last year. And a lot of people are kind of down on Deshaun Jackson, but I really believe this guy's a weapon. And if him and Jameis Winston, him and Fitzpatrick are all on the same page, he can be a dangerous weapon for the Bucs and, facing all these different defenses.
I'll tell you with Deshaun, the phrase that comes to mind to me with him is statesman. I think he's really kind of come into that spot at this point in his career, at this point around the team. I think that's how a lot of people view him. Yes, he's this great speed demon. He's this deep threat. He's all of that. But, Deshaun's kind of a quiet guy, it seems like. I've never met him personally, so, it's just judging based off observation. But, like when he speaks, people listen. And as you say, like when he shows up, people pay attention. And, he just kind of has that elder statesman, I think, feel about him and aura about him. And he's not at all the Ren. Was it you that we were talking? Was it you and I that was talking about this earlier this week of how when he first kind of came here, you almost felt like he was sort of this diva, kind of a guy. And he's not that. He's at least not this year.
From it.
At least not this year, and I suspect probably not so much last year as well. But DJ, the chemistry between Jameis and Djax is greatly improved, and not just Jameis and Djax, but also Fitzpatrick and Djax. And I don't think we can undersell how important that's going to be, especially for these first 3 games.
Yeah, and we could go back to that Arizona game. Watching Fitzpatrick hit Djax in stride with that touch, the touch that he has on the ball when he can get time and get the ball out there. I'm encouraged by that going into this season. So that's something that I am looking forward to.
What I can tell you that you are not going to see the first 3 games this year is Fitzpatrick overthrow Deshaun Jackson. I don't think he can't do it. I don't think he can do it. But they have this chemistry that if Fitzpatrick gets the ball, takes his couple extra steps, plants his foot and throws it as far as he can, it ends up being a perfect pass to Deshaun Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just don't expect that too much because we don't want Fitzy's arm to pop out.
So guys, I guess my next question is the free agents.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the free agents that we've seen so far, who's really stuck out to you? Besides, let's take JPP out of the equation here. But of the other free agents that they brought in, who's really sticking out to you as somebody that's kind of a leader and somebody you can kind of look to as somebody that should make a difference on this team?
Well, I guess the person you look to the most would be, the keystone or the cog piece to the offensive line, which is Sean Jensen.
Jensen.
That would be the guy that you would automatically gravitate towards. But how do I put this? When you take JPP out, like he's the guy that's popped. Like Bo Allen's doing his job,
Right.
Ben Curry's doing his job.
Right.
Ryan, I call him Sean. Ryan Jensen, Sean's his uncle. Ryan Jensen, he's doing his job. Who else am I missing? Somebody? Unryan. I know Brent's going to talk about Unryan, so I'm gonna leave him off. He's doing his job. So as far as what you get to see at practice and who pops, and because we don't get to break down the film, you can only see what you can see, and we don't know where these guys are actually supposed to be. We don't know, if they're doing their job and what they're supposed to do on this play. But Ryan Jensen seems to be doing exactly what he needs to be doing as far as leading this offensive line and giving him a little bit of more of a nasty edge attitude to him. Allie's helping him out. We found out one of the pressers, helping with the line calls and get acclimated. But as camp goes on, to answer your question, that would be the guy that I would start to watch. But it's really hard to take JPP out of that thing because he plays a splash position and he splashes every practice.
Yeah, I mean, Ren said that I'm going to mention Mitch Unrein, and I absolutely will. Mitch Unrein, probably the most unheralded person that we had this offseason. And I will tell you that I suspect that that's because he chose to make it unheralded, just based off of an interaction I had with him. But he's just don't talk to me. I don't want to talk. He's the only one who didn't have an introductory presser. It's probably because he didn't want one. It's just kind of the way he is. But man, that guy can play. Like I understand why they brought him in. And I can't remember if he was the first or second signee that we had. I think it was between him and Bo Allen were the first two.
I think it was Bo Allen, and then Mitch Unrein was the second.
Yeah, but they were back to back though. You're right.
Yeah.
You can definitely understand why that was a guy that that Jason Light and his crew, they researched, they knew who they were getting. And this guy's no J.R. Sweezy. He's not coming in supposed to be this big nasty thing, and then all of a sudden he's laid up for a year and a half. I mean, he's out there taking on double teams. He's out there doing his deal, and he will be the not one of the starters, not one of the starting four. He'll be one of those guys in rotation. But we're not going to see much of a drop off between Bo Allen down to Mitch Unrein. We're just not. It's great.
And what's great about this, guys, is that's the kind of positions these guys came from. Mitch Unrein and Bo Allen both came from rotation. They rotated in and out, and that's why they were able to play at such the level that they were. And that worked out for him. It doesn't matter about being that starter, but being able to get in there and make plays. And those guys are run stoppers. I mean, you look at their stats from last year. That's what they were brought in here to do is stop the run because of the problems that line had. Go ahead, Pless. I know you were wanting to jump in there.
Yeah, I mean, can I talk about any free agent?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, then. I mean, Sean Wilson's going to make this team. I'm going to put it out there right now. That guy is electrifying every practice. He's winning on special teams right now, as far as kickoff returns and stuff. But I think he's going to make the team. I mean, the way the coach is talking about him, the difference that he's bringing as far as a third down back, and his ability just to make plays, I think he's a guy to look out for. I'm really excited to see him next week and see what he can do. But I think he's going to make this team.
Yeah, guys.
Plus, let me ask you a question, because this is something Ren and I talked about on our show. If you look at the running back room, last year they kept 4. I think the year before that they had 4, but almost every year before that they had 3. So let's assume they'll keep 4, but understand there's also the caveat to this that they could only keep 3. We know they're going to keep Peyton. We know that they're going to keep Rojo. So outside of that, you've got Charles Sims, Jacquizz Rodgers, and Sean Wilson, who I agree with you. They can't hide Sean Wilson on practice squad. He'll get snatched up so fast. They're going to have him on the active roster in order to protect him. Maybe unless they redshirt him, which I doubt they will. So here's the question: who's the odd man out? And is it possible that a Sean Wilson could beat out both a Charles Sims and a Jacquizz Rodgers if they choose to only keep 3? What do you think?
Well, here's my reasoning. I mean, a lot of people forget that Jameis Winston is not going to count against the active roster, for 3 weeks. So they could very well keep 5 running backs. I know that's a lot, but I think it's very possible that they could do that. And then once Jameis comes back, they decide then as far as how the games go, make their decision then. That's an option. But as of right now, I mean, obviously it's going to be down to Jacquizz Rodgers or Wilson, I think. Because I think Sims is going to stay just because of his pass protection abilities and the way he can be utilized on third down. I mean, they trust him too much. So I still think there's a good chance they keep 4. But really, it depends on how good Wilson plays. I mean, I think he's got a really good chance of winning that returner job, and that's something that this special teams needs desperately is a good returner. So, I mean, I think that is definitely an option though that they could keep 5.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting too. So, as you're looking at this, Plus, I wanted to kind of ask you, with the game coming up next Thursday. What are you looking for? Who are you looking to see, or what positions? Because to me, I didn't expect the cornerback position to be what it is right now, but I'm kind of excited to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, number one thing is just injuries. You don't want to see injuries, so hopefully, a clean game. Guys get out healthy. As far as positions, I mean, secondary is going to be a hell of a battle, and then I think the linebacking core is going to be fun to watch as well. The way Jack Sitchie is stepping up his game, he's already the number 2 middle linebacker. Yeah. I mean, so there's a lot of spots that are going to be up for grabs, and it's going to be fun to see. I mean, obviously, our first team defensive line and seeing all the new toys is going to be cool, but yeah, I mean, those linebacker and the secondary position, the safety position, the battle going on there to see Jordan Whitehead, see if he can step up his game and maybe challenge Chris Conte for a starting spot. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of positions, and again, Sean Wilson as well. See what he does.
Yeah, again, here's another guy that everybody's trying to run out of town again, and he's still in there, slow and steady, I guess, wins the race. Guys, I wanted to ask you about Chris Conte. What have you seen from him? Just getting to watch him firsthand.
2 picks in 2 days.
Yep.
That's about it. I mean, and I'm not trying to be funny, but if you've been up to training camp practice, like the safeties isn't what I was looking at, and the practices move so fast. And if they do 11 on 11s, the ones are only in there for like 3 to 5 reps and then they're out. So what, I was sort of looking at, who's on the field. Like, is Deshaun Jackson playing the slot? Is Chris Godwin getting a lot of time outside with Mike? What's the rotation on defensive line? Where's Sitchie playing? Is he ahead of Bully yet? Or I'm not sort of focusing on the veterans as in, hey, how's Justin Evans doing? How's Chris Conte doing? How's Quan doing? Like, I know those guys, right. So, and on the, so those are the things I was sort of looking at. So I haven't looked at Chris Conte, but like I started out this, this conversation, 2 interceptions in 2 days.
Yeah, you can't beat that right there. So, guys, I mean, what do you, when you're out there looking, and this is kind of off subject, I'm all over the place. Like I said, I have a lot of questions for you guys. What are you looking for when you're going to camp? You know you're going to be in camp. I'm sure you have a game plan. This is what I want to see out of this team. This is what I feel that the people that listen to me want to hear about. What do you guys look for? What are you looking for when you're doing this?
You might be overselling it a bit to say that I have a game plan, because it's kind of, I mean, you for me, I want to be out there when the first guys start coming out on the field. Yep. Which in this case usually means the tight ends, and I like watching those warm-ups that they do, and it's really one of those you just kind of wait till they blow the whistle and you just sort of see what's what. Now, truth be told, their practices are just about the same every day. Like, I mean, there are changes, obviously. They do different things in different ways, but they're going to go through warm-ups first, and then they're going to do individual position drills usually. And the offensive line is always going to go to this spot, and defensive line is always going to go to that spot, and tight ends and wide receivers are going to go over to that spot. So I don't know. There's just sort of what looks good today. What didn't I look at yesterday? Especially when you're on a limited basis of how long you can be there. It's really just that I have to admit, though, I'm also a little bit more of a social butterfly, I guess, when it comes to stuff like this. So at the same time, I'm also wanting to meet different people that are in the organization. And Ren's like, yeah, he is.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
I want to talk to some of the different media guys. I want to talk to, just meeting different people and kind of seeing what's out there. And it's hard to do that and fully actually pay attention to what's happening on the field. But I think the one thing I really learned as far as watching camp, and for anyone who's going to go to camp, whether you're going to the takeover day, the Saturday, or one of the other days of camp, obviously the most fun time is when they get into the 11-on-11s or the 7-on-7s or something like that. They're doing those drills. Don't take it, watch it the same way you do a football game. Like, just keep your eye on the ball and follow and see what happens. If you can spend your entire play going, okay, who's here? Who's lining up there? What are they doing over there? What's this? Who's that back there? What's going on here? Oh, wait, they just changed it. Crap. Okay. Who's here? And you're missing what's actually happening. Like don't do that when they get into the 11-on-11. Just watch it and watch for the big throw, watch for the run, watch to see what's happening. That's my, I think, best advice as far as when you go out, what to actually, as you're looking at camp, kind of a little bit of how to watch it. Keep your eye on the ball.
Yeah. And I guess for me, if it were me at camp, there are certain positions that I want to see. Example, you guys are going to laugh. Don't judge me. The kicker. Because of what the Bucs experienced last year early on, I think it's important to get an idea of who you have in this kicker battles. So to me, that's one important position. Another position to me would be the secondary, as we talked about, especially the cornerback position. How are these guys playing? I mean, you've got OJ Howard, you've got Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, and Chris Godwin. How are these guys matching up against these types of wide receivers? And are they holding their own, or do you see certain behaviors that could potentially carry over into the regular season? I know when I look at college film, the one thing I look for is behaviors. I don't look at so much big plays or splash plays. I look to see if people make repetitive mistakes, how they line up, and just things that they don't correct, and see if those kind of things carry over into the NFL. And I think for me, when I look at game film, that's kind of what kind of carries over for me as well, is just looking for certain behaviors and seeing if that kind of thing carries on.
Well, a couple of things there. One, I'm going to start with a funny story. The first time Brent and I went to OTAs this year, before training camp, I think they had 3 days of OTAs, and we went to day 2, and I was lucky enough to go to day 3. But we get there, and the players are out there. Practice starts, and I got my camera out there, or my smartphone out there, and I'm taking videos and I'm taking pictures of the 8K tower, and I'm tweeting out who's where, and oh look, Carlton Davis is starting with the ones, and oh look, Will Golston is actually being moved inside the tackle on the first defensive line, and I'm gone for like a half hour, and they start to do a walkthrough, which is really boring to watch. So I go find Brent, and I'm like, so I'm sort of recapping what I got, and I go, so what'd you get? And he goes, well, I talked to Isbits for a while, and then I met the new guy that's co-hosting the new Salty Dogs podcast, and then I said hi to Mark. I had a freezy pop, but to be perfectly honest, this is why we got those media credentials, because of Brent and his relationship building. I had nothing to do with it. Like, he is the reason why we got to do these 2 days. So us together sort of make this great team, because Brent's really excited about building relationships, and I'm really excited about, who's where, watch this, look at this guy type of thing. Now, as far as a plan, Brent's right. Like, the first day you get there, there's certain players that go to certain spots where you just can't really see what they're doing. So it's more of like choose and pick where you want to go, and then and you can't cut across the field. So if you come out of the back of one Buck and they're practicing on field 2, and the offensive line goes over to the far side of 2, but they're really close to where the media can go, and you want to get over there, it's like a 4 or 5 minute walk to get over there. And if you walk, there might be done of what you want to go see. So like, it's like, okay, I'm going to go watch the offensive line and do that, and then you get there like, okay, whistle blows, and they like all, and you're like, okay, damn it. I didn't get it. It's sort of like that. You got to feel it out. But as far as like watching the kickers, I don't suggest it, because they don't do anything, Gene. They stand there. They just stand around and sort of like kick the ball like it's a hacky sack most of the time. They might make a kick or two, then Brian Anger starts punting, and Catanzaro and Moore shagging for, like, they don't do anything. And then once every couple of days, Kurt Cutter blows whistle, goes, okay, come out and do some kicks. And that's it. So, if you want to spend your practice watching the kickers, play grab ass, go be my guest.
Here's the thing, Gene. If I can like assuage your fears with that, because you're absolutely legit in what you say. Given the history of Tampa Bay and the Buck and the kickers here over the last couple of years, I fully understand why you would have that as an issue. Chandler Catanzaro is he's not going to be 100%, but he's going to be pretty damn reliable, and he's not going to be Nick Folk. He's not going to be Roberto Aguayo. He's got a leg that can bomb it. I mean, we watched him do a 53-yarder or something like that today, Ren, or maybe yesterday. So, sure, you want to go watch him, that's fine. I think once you see him, you'll just like, okay, moving on, and you'll be fine after that point.
There you go. So that makes sense. I mean, that if you say that, that's cool. I'm just gonna kind of go with that. I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. But Folk, I mean, when you had Folk and Aguayo going at it last year, it just wasn't.
That was now that was must see TV.
Right.
That was.
But you're sitting here holding your breath, and you've got your legs crossed, and you don't know if they're who's. And as soon as they miss it, you're like, oh my God, is this what we have to look forward to in the regular season? And I guess that's my mindset right there. But if you say that, they've brought in some better quality kickers, and that's something we really don't have to worry about.
Yeah, look, listen, despite last year, here's what you don't want. You don't want a competition at your kicker spot. Like, you just want to know the guy who's going to go in, he's going to make the kicks, and the other guy here is just here for camp. Done. And that's what we have this year, unlike last year.
Thank God.
There we go. So, well, that's out of the way now. So, Pless, do you want to jump in here?
I mean, I was watching practice wrong. Apparently, I'm not going to be able to make camp this year, but the last couple of years, when I've been to training camp, I usually just focus on specific areas of the field. So. I usually just focus on certain players that I want to see, and I usually just watch them, go through their plays. I don't even watch the ball. It's a little weird, but that's what I do. I focus on like certain areas. So if I want to focus on the defensive backfield, I just focus on those guys right there and pretty much watch it throughout the whole play, or defense line, offense line. That's usually where my focus goes is O-line and D-line, because that's where games are won. So I really like watching the trench battles and hopefully see some. That doesn't happen now, but question for you guys. I mean, let's get into. I want to talk about Noah Spence, because that is the guy that I think is the key to taking this defense, which I think is going to be good, but I think Noah Spence can make it great if he's on point.
Sure. Want me to start that one, Brent?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
No, either or. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No big deal. We're rolling. We got it. I had a tweet about, I put it out on Twitter, and it was Noah Spence, and it was, "Hey, have I told you about the inside move I'm working on? Well, now you know." And it was just a quick, like 5-second clip of Noah Spence faking outside, going inside, and the offensive tackle didn't even touch him, and he was in there. And that got a lot of play on Twitter. I mean, I got a lot of likes. I got a lot of retweet, at least for me and my followers. I got like 70 to 80 likes, and 30 something like that retweets. So that's a ton for me. And what I can tell you about Noah Spence is his speed is going to be a problem for somebody, for tackles. A few times a practice, he makes it to the quarterback untouched. Usually it's on the outside. Now, a lot of times he gets locked up, but these guys get paid too. I haven't seen a lot of the inside move that I was lucky enough to capture on video. But what I will say is, when they run the ball at him, he cannot set the edge to save his life, even with all the added weight. I haven't seen him do it once yet. Now I might have missed it, and of course I don't see all the reps, but the way they're planning on using Noah Spence, and they're not trying to hide it at all, is he's going to rush the passer on obvious passing situations. That's what he's going to do. And, and they're holding it under their guy. Like, they're not saying he can't play the run. What they're saying is, we want to keep him fresh to get to the quarterback. So as of right now, I think he's going to do very well in that situation. But if you want to look forward, if people start to get injured and you think Noah's going to come in and try to set the edge on first and second down, right now it's not going to happen.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he's in the right spot. I think, third down pass rush specialist, whatever you want to call it, I think that's what suits him best. And I think with the ability that JPP and McCoy will be able to draw double teams, and having Noah Spence one-on-one most of the time, I mean, I don't see how he can't get close to double-digit sacks or get there. I just think it's a real possibility.
Yeah, and listen, it's hard with Noah Spence because we really haven't seen him play football in 2 years now, almost.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
He would have been really good last year, I think, had he been healthy and had he not been out the whole year. And he does not look like he's lost anything. In fact, he looks like he's picked up a few things. Now coming into, I guess this is his third year officially, right?
Yeah, third year.
Right.
So, he is he looks like he knows the playbook. He looks like he knows what he's doing. It's just a matter of perfecting it. And I mean, you kind of point out he's going to be that third down specialist passer. He's kind of the Charles Sims of the defense. We know when he comes on, we know what he's going to do, and when he does it, he's going to do it really well. And your Bucs fans are going to love watching Noah Spence this year. I just think we are. And provided that shoulder stays safe, and they're telling us that it's better than God made it now. So, see what happens.
All right. Mm-hmm. So guys, with that being said, what was the highlight for you guys? I've been watching your clips. I've been living my life through your videos and all the different tweets that you have out there. Just getting to watch some of these plays. I'm enjoying MJ Stewart. What I'm seeing from him, and Carlton Davis, I'm enjoying him as well. I realize this is camp. I realize these guys are rookies, and I have my expectations kind of tempered as these rookies are playing, as the free agents are coming in, do you see anybody that's not really getting, I don't want to say getting it, but they're not up to speed with everybody else?
Ronald Jones, the scariest one that you want to hear. But if you have to pick one, it's got to be him. I mean, he can still run the ball. That's, but as far as like pass protection and he just doesn't look comfortable catching the ball. Like he can catch, but you're not going to be shocked if he drops one or two, a practice. It's just he just looks sort of that awkward at it. And you can make up the narrative, well, they didn't throw to a lot of them in college and this, that, and the other thing. Now he's 20 years old and he's working very hard. But as far as, the learning curve, Carlton Davis had to seem to pick up everything really quick, and now he's starting to level off. It looked like Stewart, started a little slow, but now his learning curve is starting to peak. Justin Watson, nice little curve. Sitchy seems to be, trending upward, but Rojo has been, like nothing. Like like you don't even know where his curve is, except it's not going up. But he is explosive. He's fast, and he's gonna get on the field and he's gonna play and he's gonna make big plays. But as far as putting him in that role as a third down back and or a 3-down back, I should say, I don't think the Bucs are worried at all. I just think that they wish he was a little further along.
Yeah, understood.
I think with Rojo, the thing is he's not there yet. Just I think
these are all coachable. These are all things that are coachable.
Yeah, and you just got to remember, look, guys, it's his rookie year, and
5 days of camp.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, exactly. So you have that. I think. I mean, Gene, are you really looking for the new guys?
Yeah, I'm just wanting to get a feel for anybody that's new, that's in camp. That a lot of our listeners, like for instance, Vinny Curry. Somebody just asked me about Vinny Curry, and we hadn't talked about him in the show, and just kind of wanted to know how is he fitting in all this? Just players like that.
Listen, guys, let me tell you. Okay, let's just go across that defensive line, that opening defensive line: Vin Curry, Gerald McCoy, Bo Allen, and JPP. Other offensive coordinators better be shaking in their boots. That is a nasty front four. I mean, it is something else. And then when you back that up with a Noah Spence and you got Mitch Unrein, and I can't speak to Vita Vea. He was injured before I got there, and he's still a rookie. And I can't speak to Will Golston because he is having a horrible camp. Although he did have a better last day than he did previous days. But, we've got that starting front four. We've got people for rotation for that front four as well. It's going to be something like Vin Curry's doing his job. Vin Curry's doing what he needs to do. Vin Curry's a vet. He knows what he's doing. Nothing to sneeze at. You got Will Clark. I see somebody in the chat room and mentioned Will Clark. He's okay. He looks like a guy that we picked up off the street in the middle of last season, which is exactly what it is. He does not look like a guy who was one of the leading sackers for the defensive end position. He does not look like that, but that's what he was. So, and Ren's proud of me for getting that detail right. I think to me, as far as people to really, to really look out for, no, not to look out for, just people that have jumped out to me is Stevie Tui Kolavatu, who, yes, he was a rookie last year, but it was kind of his red shirt year. You know what I mean?
Because of that injury.
Yeah, his injury. He
just like Justin Watson or Sean Wilson are going to have an injury this year, or both of them are going to have an injury.
Exactly. It's
so how did he look? How did he look?
Good. He looks good. First of all, he's a little bit slimmer and he's lost a lot of hair. But last year I remember I looked at him and I went, oh yeah, he's a 7th round pick. And he looked every bit of like a 7th round pick. This year I'm kind of looking at him going, he looks like probably a 5th round pick, maybe a 4th round pick. Like he has definitely improved his game. He's definitely improved his stock. And, the defensive line is another one of those. If you keep 9, maybe 10 guys, the first like 8 places are pretty well set. And there's a lot of people battling for that last, for that last 1 or 2 spots. Stevie T is in the running for it. I mean, legitimately in the running. And Coach Carter will tell you everybody is, but
That's
Ren's right. It's not true. And I would I would not be shocked to see Stevie T make this 53-man roster. Probably he will at the very least be on the practice squad if he clears waivers. But Stevie T was a guy that I remember watching him last year just thinking, man, it's not going to be good. And then this year going, all right, I like it. All
right. Well, that's what I'm talking about. So somebody's echoing. Let's see. Give me a second here. Okay, never mind. Okay, I went away. Somebody had a question with the JPP signing. Will the Bucs go back to 4-3 instead of a 3-3-5 defense?
Yes.
Ooh, can I answer?
Oh, yeah, go for it. Sorry, Mike.
Go ahead, Pless.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I just recently wrote about the 3-3-5, and I think it will still be part of the defense, but I think it will be used way less than it was last year. I think with the 4-man fronts that they'll be able to present, I think that's going to be your MO, your go-to. I think they're going to try to be more traditional 4-3. But I think in obvious certain situations, whether it's, obvious passing downs and they want to be a little more aggressive, they can use Noah Spence as a stand-up guy. Same thing with like Kendall Beckwith. If they want to pass rush those guys and get them in as extra blitzers, then I can definitely see them, using that 3-3-5 more often, maximize their pass coverage where you can have, as many as 10 guys in coverage. I mean, I think it's definitely a possibility.
All right. Another question for you guys. How do the Bucs approach the preseason with the quarterback position? How many snaps does Fitz get with the first team?
Ooh, can I answer?
Yeah.
I know this one. Pick me. I can't give you exact snap counts, but I will tell you this. According to Cutter, if you add up all the snaps that everybody's taken, Jameis is still getting the most amount of snaps out there. Now, the way they have done it and the way Coach Cutter said that they were going to do it after that first day was Fitz is going to run with the 1s because they got to get ready for the first 3 games. Griffin is running with the 2s, and then Jameis is rotating between them. So he's doing a little bit with the 1s, a little bit with the 2s, a little bit with the 3s, and you can't read too much into how much he's getting with each squad in each day. But if you add his up all together, he's getting more than anybody else. So to me, this is really the best of both worlds of preparing for Fitzy day 1, but also knowing that Jameis is coming back week 4, unless something weird happened. Right. And Cutter said, he's like, listen, there's no playbook on how to do this. So they're kind of making this up, as they kind of go day by day, I suppose, or whatever their plan is, whatever their script is. So now the other thing he said too about Fitzy is because Fitzy is a veteran and he's been around the league for, I think, 14 years now. Cutter said 27. It's he pointed out, and I thought it was a good point. Fitzy actually doesn't need as many reps.
Right.
No, it's okay to take some of his away and hand to Jameis. And kind of the same thing. And Griffin's out there getting his with the 2s and then also with the 3s sometimes as well. But that's kind of how they got it going. I think it's a good system the way they have it working out. I think it's going to put the team in the best position to win and maintain the chemistry, develop the chemistry between Fitzy and the other guys, but also maintain Jameis's chemistry with them as well.
Man, yeah, that's a great point. So, I mean, it's just little things like this is what I was kind of looking for as far as coaching, as far as the head coach, making these types of decisions, things that you don't see every day, and how you handle this, and how does the team respond? And just again, I kind of go back to this year with camp, and just everybody I've talked to said it's totally different than last year's camp, where you see a little bit more. I don't really know how to really describe it. It's a little bit more lively, I guess you would say. maybe, or more
Physical.
more focused. I like that you guys mentioned that at the beginning of the show, more focused, and that's what we're seeing. So to me, that's very promising to see that. And as Michael mentioned earlier in the show as well, a 5-win season last year was humbling for everybody, and hopefully they can use that as something to work towards doing that much better this year and not putting themselves in a position to end up like that this year.
Yeah. Can I add one thing on the snaps, absolutely, or the reps? I've seen a lot on Twitter. I've seen a lot on Twitter as far as Jameis not getting enough reps with the ones and all this, and a couple media guys are pointing it out as it him with the threes and all that, and saying it's nonsense. Dirk Cutter has one job, and that is to win Week 1 against the Saints right now. That's the main focus. That's all that matters right now, is beating the Saints Week 1 and making sure his team's ready to go. So, Fitz is going to get the reps that he needs to be ready, and Jameis will get his time when it becomes that time. I mean, it's Fitzpatrick's time to lead this team, and that's what he's got to focus on. That's all I got to say. I mean, I think it's ridiculous, talking about reps as far as, just let him do what he's got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, what it all comes down to wins and losses, and that's what is going to save these guys jobs. So you have to have your best 53 out there, and regardless of what they do right now, as long as they're coming up winning these games, that's the end all be all for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season. I know that with Jason Light getting his contract renewed for the year, I thought that was a great move. Now it's going to be up to Dirk Cutter and Mike Smith to show that they belong here. Go out there and win some games. You have enough pieces in place to where you can put this team in a winning position. They need to go out and execute. As long as you're calling the plays and they're executing it, it should be something very very special this year. Buccaneer Bruce said, anything on Damone Harris? Have you guys seen him in practice?
If we haven't talked about him, yeah, exactly. If we haven't talked about him, chances are he's not going to make the team. Okay. Because if you go and it's nothing against Buccaneer Bruce or Howard. Don't be funny. Or there's nothing against Damone Harris. Or okay, Brent's mad. I'm Brent Allen. I'm always funny. It's just that if you really go up and down this roster and sort of plot out, okay, there's going to be 9 offensive linemen. Okay, there's going to be 10, 11 defensive linemen. They're going to keep 5 wide receivers. You start to go there. Damone Harris, I believe he's a tight end. Okay, so let's talk about tight ends. How are we going to keep 4? Okay, so you got Howard, Auclair, and Brait. You're gonna, is this guy to come over cross? I mean, you start to get to these things where if you haven't heard his name by now, or you haven't like seen him pop in like the videos or something, it's starting. If he doesn't show up in preseason, there's a lot of defensive end, not a chance. God no. I mean, we named the 8 guys. You got JPP, you got Curry, you got McCoy, you got Bo Allen, you got Mitch Unrein, you got Noah Spence. Who am I forgetting?
Golston, Vita Vea, and Will Clark.
And Will Clark. And I didn't even mention.
Is anybody on the bubble in that list you just gave out? Is there anybody on the bubble right now?
Yeah, because I didn't even say
Golston, I think. Well, not Golston.
It'd be Gold.
And I didn't even mention.
It'd be Golston. I
didn't even mention Stevie Tuikovatu yet. Yeah. And he's talking about this guy that no offense, but maybe he's from your favorite college team or whatever. But defensive line room, man, there's 8 guys, 9 guys that are practical locks. Even though Will Golston has had a disappointing camp so far, his next 2 years contract money are so friendly to the Bucs. He's making $6 million this year. Next year it's down to 3. Then it bumps up to 4, then it bumps up to 5. So for the next 3 years, you have Will Golston locked up for what's that? $11 million total.
It's true. And plus, I get what you're saying. Performance-wise, Golston should be on the bubble. I think contract wise, he's gonna be around. Like they've got him. He's guaranteed. Go ahead.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if he didn't have the guarantee money that he has this year, I think he would definitely be in trouble. I think his guarantee money runs out after this year, so they next off season. But I understand what you guys are saying. I mean, he's very friendly contract, and he's still a reliable player. I mean, you've seen what he's capable of as far as the 2016 season. So hopefully he can get back to that. Still a very good run defender when he's on his game. So. But yeah, I mean, as far as Damone Harris, I mean, it's just going to come down to preseason games. I mean, he's going to have to make a very good splash if he wants to make the team.
I don't even think that comes like who you're going to kick out. Like I don't, even if say he gets 3 sacks in preseason game 4 against whoever we're playing 5th string tackle, that's not going to be enough because it's just not. I mean,
no, I agree with you. I think as far as making a roster in the NFL, I mean, he's going to have a great preseason, probably a practice squad candidate if he wants to stay with us. But yeah, I mean, this roster is very deep at defensive line, and it's weird to say it because we haven't had a deep defensive line in for probably a decade. So
yeah, longer than that.
It's nice to hear.
Yeah. And here's another question. Will Riley Bulla ever develop into a decent linebacker, or will Sitchy jump over him eventually?
Let me get out my crystal ball here.
Oh, stop. Do you want to go over me?
Go ahead, Ren. Go ahead.
All right. Well, Sitchy has this is one of the questions I got to ask Dirk Cutter after I plucked up my courage. Day one, I was terrified because when I walked into the tent, he made eye contact with me, and he's like, I knew that he doesn't know who the hell I am and what the hell am I doing in the press conference. so I just clammed up and watched day one. But day two, I fired 3 questions out, 2 to Cutter, 1 to Mike Smith, and my first one was about Jack Sitchy, and he was very quick, and I felt excited to talk about how he's got his leg brace off. This is the first practice without his leg brace off. If a little backstory for people who don't know him, he played at Wisconsin. He got injured the end of his junior year, then got healthy, and then blew out his knee in like a spring practice or spring game and missed his entire senior year. And people were still saying that if he would have blown out his knee, you're looking like 3rd round for this guy. Jason Light picks him up at the end of the draft. It's sort of like, well, let's take a flyer on this guy. Well, right now, he is the 2nd string starting middle linebacker and has been for a few days, which means he's in front of Riley Bulla as far as quote unquote the depth chart is. Now they're trying a lot of things and it's not set in stone. But if you're going to talk about Jack Sitchy and his learning curve, it's going up. So that's what can he ever pass Riley Bulla? Well, yeah. But Riley Bulla has apparently put in the work, and he's really worked on his athleticism, which hurt him last year. Like as a downhill linebacker, Riley's, you can make an argue he's one of the best, if not the best. Well, he can't, not better than Levante David, but downhill, get to the ball carrier, Riley is excellent at. Covering anybody that has any athleticism at all, Riley couldn't do it last year. That's why he didn't make the team. But apparently he's worked on that. But if you want to see a battle, that's going to be the battle for that last linebacker spot between Bond, Sitchy, and Bulla. Like one of those might be 1 or 2. I'm not sure how many they're going to keep. So like only one of those 3s might make it this year on the team.
Wow. Wow, that's huge.
Bulla is one of those guys. I'm just going ahead and penciling him in as a practice squad guy. And that's nothing against him. It's just, and again, this is really early in camp, but I think the team likes him. I think they want to keep him around. I don't think that he is ready to jump ahead of everybody else that's ahead of him on the depth chart to grab a spot on that roster, at least early in the season. As the season goes on, that might change, but early in the season, I just don't see it. Sitchy, I think, has a bigger ceiling for sure. And, Ren and I spent quite a bit of time talking about how much does the ceiling factor or potential ceiling factor come into it when you're trying to decide who to keep and who to let, risk go through the waiver system,
Yeah, definitely. Last question for tonight, and I really appreciate you guys. What is Justin Evans doing in camp, and what do you expect from him this season? Can he be a quiet star?
That's all you, Brent. He falls in the Conte question for me. Like I haven't been paying attention to him.
Yeah. Every time I see Justin Evans, he's on his knee. To be honest with you. Like, no, I mean Justin Evans is everything that you remember from last year, and
with a little more experience.
He's more experienced, but I mean but it doesn't. That's what I mean is it doesn't show for me. Like, it may show in the film room, it may show to the coaches, it may show to those guys who know what's going on, but for me, I'm just watching where the ball is going at this specific time. Justin Evans, he was a pretty good safety for us last year. He's still doing pretty good. I don't know that he's head and shoulders above where he was last year. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. I don't know. But he will make this roster. I promise you that.
Okay.
Well, I can expound a little more. I think as fans that we want to see Justin Evans take the next step. I haven't heard or seen anything that he's not there or he's not on his way to being there. What I expect him for this season, I expect him from his range from sideline to sideline to be able to play center field is going to save us sometimes. I also expect that he's going to be out of position a few times and probably cost us some points. And I also think that he's going to make some big plays that are going to get the ball back for the offense. And all that comes together and you put it in a blender and you pour it out and you got a second round safety that was taken, and it's his second year in the league. I think he's right on track.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. I think the key for Evans is just he's got to stop giving up the big play, and that was his problem last year. He gave up a lot of big plays, but he's a rookie. I mean, that's going to happen. He got caught a lot of times just looking at the quarterback and guys were going past him. So I think it's just overall awareness, and that comes with experience. So I'm not really worried about Justin Evans. I think he's going to be better this year because of our front four and our pass rush. Hopefully that'll be something that's consistent, and that'll allow him to be more aggressive where he can come downhill and make plays either in the backfield or in the passing game.
All right.
Yeah. Plus, to bounce off of that, man, don't underestimate Bucs fans how much that new front four, that new revamped defensive line is going to do for our linebackers, for our cornerbacks, and for our safeties. All those guys we like to pick on last year, the Vernon Hargraves, the Chris Contes, all that kind of stuff. When we get that front four that's really doing their job, it's going to help those guys out a ton.
That's exactly right. And, and I've preached that through the offseason that your front four will help everybody else behind them. Linebackers were the crown jewel of this team. I mean, if you look at any positives for this team, it would have been the linebacker core of Quan Alexander, Levante David, and Kendall Beckwith. When they were all healthy, they were all producing.
Gene, to that fact, it was Coach Duffner, a linebackers coach, who won the Pewtercast fan voted Coach of the Year award last year. I mean, shameless plug and pertinent facts.
And for those keeping score at home, I will be assisting with the awards this year, so I will have my input in on this as well.
Yeah. Gene, were you part of our nominating committee last year?
No, I was excluded.
Oh, damn.
I was TO'd. I was pretty much TO'd about that, but it's okay. I'm all right. I'm
you're out.
Yeah.
I was excluded last year. I don't know what Gene's mad about. Like, I'm on the pod and I had no input at all.
Man, you're gonna have to revamp this, really. I mean, that awkward silence now. So I'm gonna fix it. So, guys, thank you so much for being on. We've ran a little bit over, but you really answered a lot of questions. And again, I talked about this a little bit earlier, and this is probably be one of my final thoughts, but I'll get with everybody else. We were talking about Goodfellas when Tommy was supposed to be a made guy. and they were out there talking by the phone booth. And they're like, okay, we've got one of our own in there. That's kind of how I feel with these guys here. Once you guys were in there and you're able to go to these press conferences, you're able to talk to a head coach, you're able to talk to some of these other players and just get that kind of insight. It's awesome that we have this relationship that, you have your podcast and you're willing to come on our show and, and talk with us about this kind of stuff. And it's appreciated. And I really hope that the Buccaneers can do this a little bit more often. I think that this will definitely expand their brand by reaching out to these other groups of fans that, have decided that they want to listen to podcasts or they want to listen to certain people on social media as opposed to the media, which is, been in place for who knows how long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. We I think Ren and I both feel very similar to that. And, we will the whole idea of getting media credentials is not just so that we could fulfill some sort of fanboy dream, although that is a part. I mean, that did happen. Make no bones about it. That did happen. Yeah. But it really it's why we do the show. It's why we do the podcast. It's not just because we like to hear ourselves talk, although you could argue maybe that's also the case as well.
Yeah, but I got a big mouth. I do too.
Yeah, but it's all about making the show better. It's all about providing better content for the fans. And I don't know about you guys, but I often sit there and listen to these press conferences, and I'm sitting back going, "Well, damn, why didn't they ask this?"
Yeah, I've heard some questions, and I wanted to punch a wall.
Yeah, like, why did you ask that? Why are you? He's not going to answer that, so stop getting after him about it and get back to something that actually matters.
Yeah,
like it's to be able to get in there and actually ask questions that fans are interested in. And one of the questions that I had was purely based off of something that I saw fans talking about on social media. And the coach actually answered it exactly the same way that I answered it on our show. Like, I knew the answer. It's just, this is what fans were talking about, and they're representing fans, and we are there in the interest of our fellow fans. And so, as we continue to grow, if the Bucs continue to give us media credentials going forward in the future, that's how we're going to treat it. We're going to come out and we're going to look at this and be fans and be part of that fan generated content, and make no bones about it. That's just where we are. And, Ren likes to say, I like to say, when we come down to it, we are bigger fans of the name on the front of the jerseys than we are the names on the back. We're going to be loyal to the Buccaneers. So that doesn't mean we can't write true stuff. We can't talk about true stuff, but in the end, that's where our loyalties lie.
There you go. Ren Dax.
Yeah, I'm just going to sort of echo what Brent said, and he's absolutely right on all the points. It's the main driving point was for us to get there because we feel like there's a portion of a big portion of the fan base that doesn't get the questions asked, doesn't get to hear from the fans' perspective, and it's not mainstream media's fault. Because I've said this many times on our pod, it's the reason you don't like these questions. It's because the person has already decided on the reporters asking the questions, already decided on the article they're going to write. And they're just going to the press conference to get quotes from that person to put into the article. So there is a specific agenda, good or bad. There's nothing good, bad, evil media about that. That's their job. That's how they get paid. That's their thing. But when we ask questions, there's nothing more to the agenda than I really want to know this. Like, I want to know, is the right guard position still, like, rotation at that right guard position, is that on the table still? And Cutter said yes.
That's what's missing from these press conferences.
Yeah.
Genuine questions like this. This is what I'm talking about. You guys have a fresh perspective on things that these guys that have been in the media, hey, I've got to get this article together, and I need to get this quote in here, so I need to do this. But you guys are asking genuine, innocent questions that fans want to know about. So, no knock on the media. I love the media. I've had guys on here before, from the media, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, fans want to hear legitimate questions. Your like-minded questions, I guess, would be a great way to put it. So you guys hit the nail on the head when you put that out there. So and I can't believe this. We've gone an hour and 20 something minutes. That's crazy. But guys, I'm gonna go around the room here and get your final thoughts. And Pless, I didn't leave you out. I'm gonna start with you this time. Let me get your final thoughts. How can everybody get a hold of you? And we'll kind of work our way through here.
Yeah, I just want to thank the Pewtercast, Brent and Ren. Thank you again for coming on. It's always a pleasure talking with you guys. I know I owe you as far as getting on your guys' show. I know the invite's been out there. I've been an asshole and haven't made it on. So
I've never gotten one. Just
behind you. Now that we're video like you guys are, we got to get you a better background.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because mine's not notch.
But yeah, I mean it's real easy to follow me at Real Bucs Talk. Follow me there, Twitter, Facebook's, Instagram. Yeah, I mean I actually have an article probably coming out later tonight. Maybe one tomorrow if I'm feeling good. So but gonna be off out of town for a little bit, going to Iowa. So I will be back for the first Bucs game and be ready to roll. So very excited and just can't wait for this season to get started. I think it's going to be something good. I feel it. It's time.
Yeah, it's overtime. All right. Brent Allen.
Yeah. I mean, as far as final thoughts, just to kind of continue that last bit of conversation about, being media, they would come up to me and say like, hey, is there any player you want to talk to today? And I'm sitting there going, yeah, all of them. But like when the chips came down to it, it was like, okay, there's Peyton Barber right there. I would love to go talk to him. What am I going to talk to him about? Like, what are people actually interested in? Where are we going to go with that? And I wound up actually getting to talk to Ali about his move to left guard. And I had some theories that I had and some questions I really want to know about how that went down. Specifically, he asked to go to the left side. What is his relationship with Donovan going to do? Because that's stuff that we've talked about on our show.
Right.
It was, I went in just saying, you just tell me, like, I haven't written this story. It's, you just tell me what it is. And then I'll talk about it coming off of that,
Yeah. It just grows organically.
Exactly. And that's what I so much appreciate about the way Trevor Sikkema approaches his cover 3 over at pewterreport.com is he goes in with an idea, he does the research, and he allows the research to actually shape his opinions on the backside. And he said it quite often, his opinions will change from the beginning to the end after he does the research. So I really appreciate that side. If you guys want to get in touch with me, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And of course, you can follow our show, The Pewtercast, at The Pewtercast on Twitter, Facebook.com/Pewtercast, YouTube.com, The Pewtercast as of this week.
Welcome.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you. We gotta get this fancy Foursquare thing going on or something. Or you can choose an email to thepewtercast@gmail.com.
All right. And I saved the best for last. Ren Dex, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
I'm not sure if that's true at all, but I appreciate it, and I'll take that. I'm going to grab that sound and loop it. Brent, send it every day. Oh, did you check your messages, Brent? Oh, never mind. The best way to get a hold of me is at Rendax, or on Twitter, I should say, at Rendax, REN_DAXT. Facebook is dead. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football.
All right. And folks, thank you so much for checking us out. I really appreciate it. If you're not following these guys, please do. Great content. If you need something to listen to throughout the week and you're able to listen to podcasts at work, these guys, this is where I go. This is my go-to. I love calling into the show when I can. And they're great. They're awesome to listen to, and they're fun to talk to. And they won't like ignore your questions like some other people. I'm not going to drop any names, but these guys are great about that, and I really appreciate it. Seriously. A lot of people say, oh, there's competition. There's not competition among these podcasts. There may be some, but not with us. You guys always have a open invitation to buck what you heard, and I appreciate it. And I will definitely, I'm making my way into this award ceremony for this year. It will be bigger and better than last year with me involved.
Hey, that's the idea. That's all we want, man. Let's just make it better. Do it better each year,
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. And everybody have a great night. This will be up on iTunes in the morning. I will get this up on Libsyn tonight, so look for it. And I will get this out on Twitter as well so that people can follow this as well. Remember to hit that like button and the follow button as well if you're not already. And I really appreciate everybody and their content tonight. Thank you and have a good night.